Welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you could join us tonight for a 2-hour program on self-defense, firearm ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, training, range etiquette, Alabama law, Mississippi law, and Florida law, and much, much more. So glad you could join us tonight. We got absolutely a full show. If you want to call into the studio, the number is 251-343-0106, and you can text us at the same number, 251-343-0106. Be sure to check out Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5 on Facebook, our Twitter page, and also armedalabama.com, where you can go to our website and listen to our shows at any time, during the day or night or during the week. You can download all our previous shows. So if you definitely missed our shows and you want to listen, you can go and check it out anytime on our website. People tell me all the time, it's like, hey, I didn't get a chance to hear your show this past week, but I downloaded it off your website, and it was a really good show. So we appreciate all our listeners, including the ones that listen on the Internet.
Adam, it sounds like you have a lot of energy tonight, and I hope it spreads to me.
It's Charlie Moss's coffee here.
This is retired Judge Rusty Johnston. If you saw any of our posts, we're going to take phone calls on any subject, but one thing we want to talk about is, in particular, we want to talk about firearms or sights for your AR-15. We have a video on our Armed Alabama website that we made and have put up. That's armedalabama.com. You may want to go there and look at it. It tells you how to install iron sights on your AR-15 or how to install actual electronic sights. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And we're also going to talk about the dangers of Hillary Clinton winning and what would happen if if she happened to win, and the problems with Gary Johnson. We're going to play a clip in a minute from him that he talks about. He goes berserk, frankly, about someone using the term illegal aliens, but we're also going to talk about some other problems with that. Now, remember, this isn't NPR's All Things Considered. That closed down, I think, when Pravda did over in the Soviet Union. There's no PC here, no Marxism. And if you're one of these delicate flower types like what our friend Sid is, be careful. You could be endangered by listening to the program. So put on your ear protection, plug in. And remember, our phone number is 251-343-0106. If you're right at the edge of our coverage area, can't quite hear us good, you can go either to the radio station's website, that is www.fmtalk1065.com, or you can go to our website, that's armedalabama.com, and you hit there to a radio show, and it'll start playing.
It streams live. Speaking of politics, right, Judge, we have the chairman of the Mobile County Republican Party on the line here. John Skipper, welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you could join us. John, you've got some good information for all listeners getting ready for the political season.
Yes, I do, Adam. Thank you very much. And I'll go ahead and preface what I'm going to say, Judge, so I will not be PC with these announcements.
Good.
So we've got a great weekend coming up, Adam. I wish I could be there with you tonight, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on. Saturday, September 10 at 10 a.m. is the grand opening of our Republican headquarters located in the Pine Brook Shopping Center at the corner of Airport Boulevard and McGregor. Pine Brook Shopping Center, Airport and McGregor, 10 a.m., and we'll have our formal festivities at 11.
And, John, so most of our supporters can read, so they'll know where the Books a Million is.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Our entrance is right next to the Books a Million. If you're walking down the sidewalk there and you go past the carrot patch, you've gone too far. But there's no doubt in my mind that you'll be able to tell which entrance is ours with all the markings and possibly even some Isaiah Trail Maids, etc.
Great.
Appreciate it, John. We look forward to that this weekend. Thank you for joining us. Now, everyone, that's the Republican Party headquarters, grand opening here in Mobile at the Pine Brook Shopping Center next to Books a Million. There's signs. There'll be signs everywhere. It's in a little courtyard. next to Books A Million between the Carrot Patch. And you can go in there and get your Trump signs, T-shirts, hats, stickers, whatever you want.
That's correct, Adam. And I would like to just quickly mention that our special guest this coming Saturday morning will be the Honorable Frank Burt from Baldwin County, Alabama. Commissioner Burt is also the District 1 representative to the Electoral College, and he'll be sharing with us some thoughts about the Electoral College quickly and briefly, and then we will have some good barbecue and good fellowship as well.
And they're the people that actually elect the president. Most people think that it's, they go and vote. We're voting for who represents us in the Electoral College.
Right.
And we need to remember that, because that's one of the things that's saving us from the great unwashed masses, so to speak, that are flooding across the southern border that are apparently being allowed to vote.
Yep, you're exactly right, Judge. And Commissioner Burt has been involved in the Trump campaign since day one and is a strong, active Trump supporter, and there's no question about who he'll be casting his vote for when the Electoral College meets in early December up in Montgomery.
Great. President Monroe would have won unanimously on his second term, except one elector decided George Washington should be the only president that wins unanimously, so I'm going to vote for another person. So he defected, but that's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But that'll be good to have him.
I could wish that all the members of the Electoral College in Alabama would vote for Mr. Trump, but like I say, I could wish that, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I know very well that a strong majority, will vote for Mr. Trump.
Yeah, I think we have a winner-take-all in this state. There are a few states, that, and it may be more legitimate, have where they'll split it up by congressional district, but I believe ours is a winner-take-all, so I think we'll take all this time. But great.
I think you're exactly right. We have one representative for each congressional district and one for each senatorial district as well.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, I'll see you over there because my Saturday morning job will be over by then because it starts way too early. And I'll be over there, and I'll look forward to seeing you. Thank
you, Judge. It's great to be with you and Adam, and we're looking forward to having a good time, eating some good barbecue and seeing a lot of the Trump supplies. And people have been calling all week and wanting to know where they can get hats and T-shirts and bumper stickers. So we're expecting a very big crowd Saturday morning.
John, can you give us a number for folks to call for more information to the Republican headquarters?
Yeah, Adam, it's on the. I just went blank. I'm at another meeting and I just went blank. It's on the Facebook page and the website, and it's at. I'm sorry.
We'll just have them call Adam. That's all right. We'll just have them call Adam for more information.
I'll give that number out later.
Okay.
We'll look it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's always a joy to be with you. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. It's going to be some good festivities there at the Republican Party headquarters for the grand opening. We're looking forward to that.
No alcohol, so don't come over there thinking you're going to get drunk and start drinking. Now, if you're drunk when you get there, I guess there's nothing anybody can do about it. People used to come in drunk in court all the time, which probably, if I'm getting ready to go to jail, is probably the best way to do it. I had people come in drunk who had been convicted of driving under the influence. We'll be back after the break with more of Armed Alabama.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. You forgot to say please.
I would say please to Arnold, wouldn't you, Adam?
Absolutely. Just to give the number out to the Mobile County Republican Party headquarters, if you're wanting to call and find out more information about this Saturday's grand opening, that number is 251-689-3310. 251-689-3302.
And want to thank again Buck Allen for the song at the top, the intro song.
Yeah, we're getting some texts wanting to know more information about the song, and that is singer-songwriter is Buck Allen, and you can follow Buck Allen on Facebook.
And that's Allen.
Yes, and that is Buck Allen, singer-songwriter on Facebook. So be sure to look him up and follow him.
Remember, go to our website, armedalabama.com, and see the new video about iron sights, how to install them, or buying a gun, AR or AR-type weapon that already has iron sights installed. You'll get some good information there. Our videographer, Chase, did the video, and like normal, I kind of did it impromptu, and it worked out pretty good. We're going to try to have one of those new for you every week with some just basic stuff in there that, you know, for instance, one thing it explains is a lot of people will go and buy a new AR and they forget, gosh, I bought a flat top. I got to spend now $100 to $200 perhaps in putting iron sights on it. And whoa, you know, that's when you buy a $650 AR, that's a pretty good whack. So that's one of the things that it tells you. ArmedAlabama.com, go there and take a look at it.
All right, be sure and check out the YouTube channel as well, Armed Alabama. So we have a lot of good videos on there. So we appreciate you listening to the show tonight. We also want to take time to give our appreciation to our advertisers and sponsors. So we would ask that you patron these advertisers and sponsors, and they are David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster at Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, Grayson Air Conditioning, that's David Grayson, and, of course, more McCoy Outdoors and the law office of Matt Green.
And we want you to also go to Bama Carry and join, because our friend over in around Pensacola tells us, and he is absolutely right, when we need something passed statewide, like, for instance, the car carry bill, the one thing the legislators in the state want to know is, how many members do you have? And if you tell them, well, we got 2,500 members, they don't listen to you. If you say we got 25,000 members, they start listening to you. It's $20 a year, and there are a lot of good things that go with that. Go to the website, bamacarry.org. You'll hear the ad running. $20 a year, that's a minimum. We've got a number of things I want to give away tonight. I've got 2 of Gordon Hutchison's books, The Great New Orleans Gun Grab. I've got another good book he's written, and I've got an AR-15 magazine. But I'm not going to do 10th caller. I want to judge your calls, your sincere calls like I did before. If you've got a good call, question, or comment about what we're talking about, call in, and when we talk, if you've got a good call, we're going to give you one of these prizes. And for the people that won the books 2 weeks ago, they've come in, so they'll be in the mail tomorrow to you.
I just want to give you a heads up. We'll be hosting a self-defense class for concealed carry and home defense, and that is September 17th. If you're interested in taking a firearms class for concealed carry and home defense, by all means, contact us to get more information, or if you just want to go ahead and sign up, the class is $125, and that includes range fees, and that will be at Three Brothers Arms in Stapleton, Alabama, which is just north of I-10 on 59 across the bay.
And that's all day. I mean, it's enough to wear you out. Yeah. So it's not a 9 to 12, and it's not a firearm safety. It includes it.
Yeah,
but
this is not necessarily just to learn how to shoot a pistol. This is to make you a gunfighter, to be able to defend yourself in an altercation. So if you're interested in that class, by all means, email us, Adam at Armed Alabama or the Judge at Armed Alabama. So we look forward to seeing you at the class.
And we're hoping it's going to be just a little bit cooler. Even though we're under the shade, it could be a few degrees cooler. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so if you're interested at all, and just give us an email, just give us a shout, and we'll definitely give you all the information that's required.
Well, Adam, WWTFT, what would the founders think about all this stuff? You know, we've got a whole group of people in this country, 40% of the millennials, that think the Second Amendment should be repealed. I mean, what would the founders think? I think they would think if they got in a time machine and landed here today, I think they would think we were all insane to even be discussing something like that. When you look around the world and you see genocides that government leaders have taken on their own people, I think they would think we were playing with fire to even be considering anything like that. Cambodia comes to mind when you think about the killing fields. Those poor people had no choice but to be herded into the jungle, and there were millions killed then. Or Rwanda, or any number of places, because the Second Amendment primarily was not written so people could have a firearm to hunt with. There was plenty of food in America at that time. It was written in case there was a despot that ever seized control of the government, so you could protect yourself and your family and your state against that person. Alabama's version of the Second Amendment is the same as most of the original 13 colonies. Each person has a right to defend himself and the state, bear arms on behalf of himself and the state. And that's in case, in the unlikely event that some madman ever got control and began a genocide like has happened all over the world. And that's perhaps why. And people say, well, that's a relic of the 18th century. Well, it wasn't when you had in Tennessee after World War II, the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, when the corrupt, kind of like Buford Pusser and Walking Tall, when the corrupt people got control of that town and stole the election, and the local GIs that had returned from the war said, no, you're not going to steal the ballot boxes. You're not going to have to use the power of the police, which was phony, to steal the election.
Yeah, because that's just they were incensed because they had just got back from World War II and fought against that same type of tyranny.
Exactly. And it wasn't with guns, but after the 94 election campaign, and we were in court on behalf of Judge Hooper, we had a witness from either one of the Baltic countries, Lithuania or Latvia, and he said, I lived under the Nazis, I lived under the Soviets, I escaped, I moved somewhere up in the Black Belt. And he said, I got over here and I saw the same thing. People were stealing ballots. And this election, this was 94, was the worst I'd ever seen. And that really hit home when I heard that. But fortunately, we have a way to handle disputes right now short of firearms. But as Judge Alex Kaczynski said on the Court of Appeals out in California, the nutty ninth, but he's not one of the nuts, is the ultimate protection, the doomsday device against a despotic government.
So when you remove firearms from the equation, whether it be by judicial action or legislative action or whatever, or it could be city council or what have you.
Complacency.
Yeah.
Just complacency.
So you look at Chicago, just because it's very hard. I think now maybe you might be able to own a firearm in Chicago. I'm not sure.
Spend about $1,000 and 100 hours for training.
But until recently, it has been almost impossible to have a firearm in Chicago or concealed carry. But this past weekend alone, over 13 people were killed in Chicago, which pushed the homicide rate to over 500 just this year in Chicago. 512, as a matter of fact.
I think the rate equals New York and Los Angeles combined already. And that's, New York, as odd as it is, it's never been easy to get a permit there, but it's never been as hard as some of these places.
Yeah. So there were 13 that was killed, but there were over 65 people that was shot and wounded.
And some of those are, I'm sure, quadriplegics, brain injuries.
One of them was pregnant. The lady was pregnant who was shot. She was shot in the abdomen.
Well, that brings
right now, more than 2,900 people have been shot in Chicago this year.
29. Well, that brings to mind Governor William Weld, who is the Libertarian nominee for vice president. he pushed one of the strictest firearms laws in the nation's history when he was governor of Massachusetts. And I thought to myself, good thing he wasn't governor when the Minutemen needed their firearms at Lexington and Concord, because they wouldn't have had any. And he's masquerading as a libertarian, which libertarians are supposed to be pro-firearms rights. And when we come back, we're going to hear from Gary Johnson, who, after I saw this, I thought, nutcase. He thinks we should have open borders. And I'm not so sure what he thinks about firearm rights after listening to this, but we'll hear from him after the break.
Yeah, you're referring to Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate for president.
Right, former governor of New Mexico. And I thought all along, at least when he ran last time, maybe he's an all right guy. But when we come back from the break, we've got about a 60-second clip that we'll hear what he thinks about illegal aliens, and it's kind of shocking when you hear that. It's kind of akin to somebody calling a burglar a party crasher, I guess. But, folks, we're going to have to step into a break, and after the break, we'll come back, and I'll tell you kind of the setup on this, and we'll hear from former Governor Gary Johnson. We'll be back after the break here on Armed Alabama. We're ready for your calls, too.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I mean to kill you in 1 minute, Ned, or see you hanged in Fort Smith at Judge Parker's convenience. Which will it be?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
See, I told you we were not politically correct. You should not be calling somebody, well, you can if you're not politically correct. Fat man, it is a oversized person, I believe.
And visually challenged.
Yeah, it's visually challenged as someone who wears glasses. Now, we have a Libertarian Party, which I think overall is a good thing. We may disagree on particular points, but that's fine. But this year, the nominees, it was rather strange. I was watching the convention, and it was the most unlikely match. It was former Governor Gary Johnson, and then for vice president, he was the presidential nominee, and for vice president, William Weld, former Republican governor of Massachusetts. Now, to be a Republican governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney was one. You've got to be kind of in the far left of the spectrum. Weld is. There's just no question about it. He equates the Second Amendment to, he says, I've owned a gun all my life, and I think they're great for hunting. And he just drops it at that. Well, in this interview that we're getting ready to play, it's about 60 seconds, Governor Johnson is asked something about, and it starts a little awkwardly because I didn't want to play the prior 3 minutes. Why did he approve of President Obama's, I think, illegal executive order allowing illegal aliens to stay in this country and not be deported? And we'll go ahead and start with it at that point and see his reaction.
Decided unilaterally that he was going to issue work visas to millions of adult illegal immigrants who are here in the country.
Undocumented, by the way. If you use the term illegal immigrants, that is very incendiary to our Hispanic population here in this country.
Why is that?
It just is. It just is. Just so that you know. Just so that you know and you don't have to use that term.
But isn't the term accurate in the sense that they entered the country, they immigrated to the country illegally, so they are...
They came into this country because they couldn't get in legally, and the jobs existed. And you or I would have done the same thing. And we're talking about now, coming from New Mexico, a population with 48% Hispanic, how's the crackdown on 11 million undocumented workers going to work out? It's going to be dragging people from their homes. That's how it's going to work out. It's going to be checking your papers house to house. And I got to tell you, what Donald Trump is saying regarding immigration could not be more incendiary.
Well, sometimes enforcing the law becomes incendiary. He says they came in because they couldn't do it legally. Well, a burglar may break into my house because he can't come in legally. I don't invite him in, so he just breaks in the top window and comes on in.
Yeah, invite him in for a pound cake and coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And there's precedent. If you look at the recent press, President Eisenhower's expulsion of 1.5 million illegal aliens in 1956, I believe. If you look at the recent press, it didn't work. It was racist. It was counterproductive, etc. If you look at some of the scholarly articles written prior to a year ago, it wasn't a problem deporting 1.5 million. They found out a way to get here. I think they can find out a way to get back. We have so many people unemployed now that have given up. When the new Admiral Sims Hotel business, the tower, office building was being built, I never saw, now there are plenty of Hispanics that are American citizens, so I can't judge by but I never saw any Anglo working over there. Let's put it that way. They were all Hispanics. So I suspect a large percentage were not documented American workers. And we all know that. I mean, every trade there is. I had so many victims of crime who were doing roofing work, painting work, etc., and they were all Hispanic, and they were all illegal because they were the victims, and the criminals could victimize them because they knew they had easy victims to steal from because they were paid in cash. And we seem to be the only country that you can just do this to with impunity.
Right, and those individuals would also be very reluctant to go to the police or go to and seek help or report the crime or what have you.
And the females, and this is a family show, but they're raped by their employers more often than not. They're exploited by their employers. We've created a whole underclass of people, and that's why there's this evil alliance between some Republicans and a lot of Democrats. The Republicans are exploiting them for financial gain.
Cheap labor.
Cheap labor. And the Democrats eventually want their votes. And it's wrong, and we need those jobs for Americans.
All right, Judge, look, we have a caller already. Kevin, welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you can join us.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen. Judge, I got a kick out of that clip right there. I started laughing about I didn't catch who was talking right there, but, when you're talking about the illegals, they're illegals. They're not undocumented.
Yeah, that is.
They came here illegally.
Let's make sure you understand. That is Gary Johnson, and he's the Libertarian candidate for president. And a lot of people are saying he's better than Trump. We need to vote for him. Well,
they need a checkup from the neck up because, like you say,
right.
If somebody illegally enters your home by, like you say, kicking your door in or jimmying your window, are you going to throw daffodils at them?
Right.
Are you going to throw some lead at them?
Right. Exactly. And if we had any kind of border protection, it's not the Border Patrol's fault. We don't have enough. That's what would happen to them when they came across the border.
Well, the last time I saw Mexico had a crossing border where you had to they had to check your documents before you go in there. Canada has that. Every civilized country has borders. That's why they have languages and culture right there, and it's not the Tower of Babel. So, these liberals that are out there that want to say, just let everything come in. Go back to 1992 when President Clinton was president, and he got on the Senate and Congress floor right there, and he talked about his immigration speech. And what did he get? He got a standing ovation from both sides of the House. Okay? He's saying the same thing that Mr. Trump is stating right now, that we need to shore up, we need to find out who's here. We're all from somewhere else. Unless you're a Native American, Indian, we're from someplace else. But you know what? We came here legally, and we abide by the laws of our Constitution right there. So, without that, why do we have jails then? Okay? We'll have to ask the judge here and stuff. These people were incarcerated because they broke the law. You didn't just say, hey, we got the Motel 6 jail, come on in here and have 3 square and a cot. You broke the law. And we have to be a law-abiding, or if we don't have that there, then our sovereign nation is over, and that's the route we're going right there.
Well,
we
it
have
is.
to have laws.
I think they want it that way.
Well, and that's the whole thing right there. But that's how every civilized country has broken down. If you go back to the dawn of time, right there, about every 200 to 300 years, right there, a republic as we have has broke down. We know we're not a democracy; we are a republic. Right
there you go.
So, but the thing is, we have to abide by our laws and Constitution. We have to have good people like you. When you were a sitting judge right there, you were fair. You listened to it, and you made a fair and binding ruling at that point, right?
Well, I tell you, one thing we did is when somebody was awaiting criminal charges, they had to put up a bond, and we had to know where they lived so we could get them to come back to court. These illegal aliens, it's a catch and release. Hey, we've caught you.
You can't do that.
I know.
Because if you and I go to Mexico, we're incarcerated, guess what? Other than the bribery trying to get people out of there, we're going to be there for a while. I mean, look at our Marine that was down there.
Right, it's a dungeon.
It's so wrong right there. Our Congress and our Senate need to, they need to reach down and grab a pair and say, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to abide by our Constitution, and we're not going to let somebody run roughshod over us and say that I'm just going to just carte blanche I want.
Oh yeah, so, and do me a favor, Kevin. Go to our Facebook, the Armed Alabama FM 106 site on Facebook, and look at the video. He's even nuttier than he sounds. His veins are bulging out in his neck, and he gets in this interviewer's face. It is really bizarre.
Well, you could tell by just the inflection of his voice right here that he's upset. But you know what? It is what it is. The whole thing is, we as Americans we band together. Mr. Trump is sitting there. He's saying things that everybody's kowtowed down on for the last 8 years. And as Democrats and Republicans to the side, we're Americans. I'm so tired of somebody putting a prefix in front. I am an American. I am an American. Okay, I'm a God-fearing American, and I believe in the Constitution, and I support my military and my police and my fire and my first responders. God bless them. And people need to understand right there. Quit saying you're a hyphenated American.
There you go.
You're an American, and be proud of it.
Kevin, we're up against a break. We need to grab this other call. Thank you so much. Look on Facebook at that video, and thank you for calling.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Is it Dakota? You're on there.
I'm here.
Yeah, you're on there.
Well, I do construction, and I'm on these job sites all the time, but they're everywhere. What can we do to actually make it where it's not where our jobs are getting taken over? I mean, I can't call somebody and tell them to come, get them. I don't know what we're supposed to do anymore.
Well,
I've been in the construction field for 15 years now, and it's every day we're losing work to them because I just don't know what to do anymore.
Well, you're telling me what I have suspected and what I've heard secondhand. You can call the ICE tip line.
I've done that several
It's not going to do much.
I actually have the number in my phone, but they say, well, you got to, how many are on there? Do you know for sure they are? And it's kind of like I'm helpless on it. I do doors and hardware, but it just seems like every day, every time I turn around, it's, well, we didn't get that one because they underbid us on this.
Let me ask you this.
They underbid us on that.
Do you have an AR-15? Do you have an AR-15? Uh-oh. All right. Well, what I want to tell him is we're going to have to trust Trump to make a change. That's all we got to do. Trust him to make a change because nobody else is even insinuated they're going to make a change. When Trump says he'd like to make a change, he's the subject of violence, which is really outrageous to me. We'll be back after the break on Armed Alabama. Give us your call or text, 343-0106, area code 251.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back to Armed Alabama. So we're going to finish up with some of our callers. Next caller is James. James, welcome to Armed Alabama.
How are you doing today?
All right. Glad you could join us. What you got?
All right. Well, listen, this is so simple, it's ridiculous. Illegals and immigrants are absolutely two different segments of population. And here's the way you define that. You take the policy adopted by their home nation for people to move into their country or immigrate to their country, and that's the rules they have to follow here.
That'd be easy, yeah.
As an example, as an American, if I decide to retire to Mexico, I can't have a driver's license. I cannot own property. I have all of my liberties and freedoms removed. You are absolutely worthless in that country. Yet the borders are open here, and they can come in and do as they wish. No one does anything about it. Catch and release. I thought that was bass fishing.
I know. It used to be.
Well, here's the deal. They come in. You know, I have no problem with people that want to escape poverty, deprivation, want to advance their family. I have no problem with that. I think that's a wonderful thing. It's a driving force that makes humanity perfect. But you have to participate with the system. No one can carry you. This country is giving away too much, carrying way too much, and it is sinking us.
Remember when you used to hear the argument, people would always say, we got to watch out for overpopulation? Have you heard that in the last 15 years?
Yes, I have.
Well, you generally don't hear it much now because they don't care if a bunch of people come in that may vote Democratic or, work in their front yards and do all that. They don't care about that.
If you're illegal, you're a criminal and have no right to vote.
Well, you shouldn't, but they're voting.
Okay, well, here's the deal.
I agree with you.
And you spoke of overpopulation, and I'll leave you with this because you got some people that really want to put something in. Here's the deal, and I heard it on Discovery Channel. The quickest way to extinction is overpopulation.
There you go.
And that's where we're headed.
And hunters know that very well. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a reason you have doe season, buck season, wild hog season. Wild hogs you can kill anytime. Here we are at this point in time and humanity where if we do not control our evils, our desires, and our wishes, which is three different things, you fail.
Would you hold on a minute? I got a good book that regarding hunting that Gordon Hutchinson's written, and I think you'd enjoy it. So hang on, and Phil's going to take your number or your address. We'll mail it to you, all right?
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right.
All right, next caller we have is Ed from Mobile.
This is Joe.
Hey, Joe. Sorry about that. We're having a little bit of phone trouble here. Glad you could join us.
I don't mind waiting.
That's all right. Joe's from Baldwin County. We appreciate you calling in. What you got?
Oh, okay. About Donald Trump, the way I see it, it really boils down to a very simple issue, and that's globalism versus nationalism. I don't see where it cuts any further than that, to be honest with you. Either we want a country or we want to be just another little blip in the global village.
Yeah, you're right. And how can we compete with...
Now, I have to add, though, with Trump, we are getting something incredibly extra, and that's a fantastic manager.
Yeah.
We hear Republicans preach day in and day out about how, we got to make government smaller, but they never do it.
Or we need a businessman in there, and yet we never get one. Yeah.
And he can't stand inefficiency.
Yep.
That drives him absolutely up a tree. He'll have that bureaucracy turned upside down so fast and operating so well, it's going to make people's heads spin. I promise you. So that, to me, that's all it boils down to. Either we're a country or we're just another little blip on the radar.
Yeah,
in the global village. And the global village is not going to be like what we have experienced in this country. People need to realize that. They're being sold all this globalism, but it's not going to turn out to be like what we're used to.
Well,
it's going to be a lot of dictatorship going on. So
think about it. Let's say you owned a shipyard here, and you're building ships. You can't hire kids under whatever it is, 18, for dangerous jobs. You got to have workers' comp. You can't pollute. But not in China. You can have a 12-year-old slave labor. Somebody's been convicted of something working there for 10 cents an hour. He gets killed, so what? So it's and we're competing with
global laws are going to start applying in this country.
Yeah.
And people are not going to like. By the way, it's refreshing to hear y'all this time of day because there's really not much else on out there this time of day.
The TV has just become terrible. Let me ask you: do you have an AR-15?
Too, man. I mean, it's just there just isn't nothing on out there at this time of day.
Oh, it's awful. Do you have an AR-15?
I never tell anyone what I have.
Well,
or
would
don't
you
have when it
accept
comes
an
to firearms.
AR-15 magazine? Would you accept an AR-15 magazine? Or would you rather have a book?
No, I'll let somebody else.
Would you rather have a book?
I appreciate it, though.
Would you rather have a book about the gun seizures in New Orleans?
No, sir. You go ahead and let somebody else have that kind of thing.
All right, magnanimous man. Thank you, sir. But thank you for calling in, though.
Y'all have a good day.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Next caller is Ed from Mobile. Welcome to Armed Alabama, Ed. Glad you could join us.
Thank you, Judge, for taking my call. I think it was during George W. Bush's term that he had the Department of Homeland Security develop the E-Verify program.
Yeah,
where
that's worked well, hadn't it?
Well, I mean, during his term, it worked great. I hired about 6 people using it, and I'd fill out the little form and fax it in to the Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
And within an hour or two, I had an email back saying that the person was legal and I was okay to hire them.
Yep.
And the law said that if you did not do that, then you faced some pretty big fines as an employer.
Yeah.
Well, when Obama took office, that program just kind of quietly disappeared. In fact, I emailed my CPA several times saying, hey, I sent in this form and I got no reply back from the Department of Homeland Security. What should I do? And his response was, well, it appears like they're not enforcing the program anymore, but there's just no official word on it. So I wish somebody look into that because E-Verify worked. While I did not appreciate having to ask the government for permission to hire somebody, I did appreciate the fact that they were trying to make sure that employers were only hiring those who were legally qualified to work inside the United States. So
yeah, they were trying to do something. And, that's when people say, the president needs to be impeached. Well, he's got a duty to enforce the laws. Or at least attempt to. And he can't pick and choose what laws he likes and doesn't like. But that's what he's done. He has just picked and chosen the laws. Let me ask you this. Would you could you use an AR-15 magazine?
Well, it's on my wish list, my shopping list. Well, I don't have one.
Well, you would, they are fit. How about a book about the Great New Orleans gun grab?
Yeah, I'd love to have one.
Well, you just hang on a second. Phil's going to get your address, and you'll have one in the mail in a few days, hopefully. Phil, if you'd grab that, and our computer's gone a little crazy here, so let me make sure I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. Phil, he's pointing his finger up, so I think he's going to get you. All
right. We still have some more callers. Next caller is Ray from Mobile. Glad you could join us, Ray.
How you doing?
All right. 2 minutes. What you got, buddy?
Okay. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the guy a while ago was talking about Republicans and Democrats, and I can remember years and years ago, George Wallace said that if you went to Washington,
there's not a dime's worth of difference between them.
Made all them Republicans and Democrats open up their briefcase. They'd all have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in them. Now, that's why we're seeing in this country right now the revolution that we're seeing, because people know that there's not a dime's difference between them.
Their first priority is to stay in office.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And we need somebody that can manage and run things and is not politically correct. I'm so tired of that,
And how does it get any worse? I mean, really?
I don't see how it can.
Right.
I don't see how it can. I mean, I have friends that are liberals, and I have never seen the hate for this country in my lifetime that I've seen during this election cycle.
You know, you're right. I
don't know where it's all coming from. I guess it's coming from fear. Because
it's nasty.
Somebody is actually challenging the system now.
And in this violence at the rallies and all, we're up against a hard break. We thank you for calling, but we're going to have to take this break at the top of the hour. Keep listening to us, and we'll be back in about 6 minutes, everybody. 343-0106, area code 205.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when they signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain right, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
All right, welcome to Armed Alabama. This is our second hour. If you're just now joining us, this is Armed Alabama, where we talk about self-defense, firearm and ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, training, range etiquette, Alabama law, and of course, much, much more. I'm Adam Strange, and joining me is Judge Rusty Johnston.
I'm here and trying to answer some of your questions, and I think we have a text. Adam, if you're closer to the board there.
Yeah, sure. Just a text from one of our listeners. If I conceal carry and I have jury duty, can I go through the metal detector at the Mobile courthouse? Will the police let you, and can you lock it in the box with the police officers?
Right. Unfortunately, you cannot. It is one of the areas designated in the Alabama Code where you cannot carry a firearm. And if everybody should be familiar with that, it is 13A, and I'll say that every week. And do we have that up, Chase, on our website? The places where you can and can't carry. I'm going to give that to everybody in a minute. But everybody needs to be familiar because, as I say, give a person a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So we need to teach everybody to fish. You put in Code of Alabama in Google, and you will get the code. You go to section, or you go to 13A, and then in this particular one, you go to, I believe, let me make sure I'm right, it is... And this will have us, 13A-11-61.2, .2, 13A-11-61.2, possession of firearms in certain places. And now this doesn't include, it references it, but there's certain places you can't carry a firearm pursuant to federal law, and this does reference that, but for instance, it says you cannot carry your firearm, even with a permit, inside a building of a police, sheriff, or highway patrol station, inside the premises of a prison, jail, halfway house, community correction center, inside a facility which provides inpatient or custodial care for psychiatric, mental, emotional disorders. 4, inside a courthouse annex, a building in which the district attorney's office is located. So that's going to hit you on number 4. those boxes are for law enforcement. Down there, a rule was made even before I was there that only the court police would carry the firearms, and so law enforcement who are armed put those in the locker. So you're going to have to just leave it in your car. A lot of people leave theirs and hide them in the planters down there along with their dope. You can find a lot of dope. I actually found brass knuckles in there one time. But just leave them in your car. If you're parked fairly close and you don't stay down there after dark, you're all right.
Yeah, that was the question. The last part of his question is how do you protect yourself while walking the streets of downtown Mobile as you go to and from the courthouse?
Yeah, if you're going to and from the courthouse, that could be a problem. But surprisingly, the crime rate's fairly low downtown, but I'm afraid the reason is there's not a lot of victims downtown, potential victims. They're all out on Schillinger Road and at Walmart and those places. The criminals go where the most victims are.
All right, if you're just now joining us for our second hour, we've had a pretty good show so far, lots of information. If you're interested in talking to us or texting the studio with a question, be sure to call us or text at 251-343-0106. You can check us out on Facebook, and that is Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. And, of course, be sure and check out our website, armedalabama.com.
And if you want to see somebody that appears to be an actor putting iron sights on an AR-15, go to our website, armedalabama.com. But it really does give you some good information. I'm surprised that I guess our videographer is the one who cleaned it up and did it so well.
Yeah, he sure makes you look he makes you look like a handsome devil, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We also have a class coming up, a concealed carry home defense class. If you're interested in that, please email us, adam@armedalabama.com or thejudge@armedalabama.com. And this class will be September 17th at Three Brothers Arms near Stapleton, Alabama. That's up 59, Highway 59 from I-10. And that is across the bay. And it's really not a big distance to drive from Mobile. If you're across the bay, of course, it's really short drive for you. But if you're in Mobile, downtown Mobile, or West Mobile, it's really not that bad. It's 35, 40 minutes, something like that.
So, by definition, shooting ranges, unless they're indoor, and we can't operate in an indoor, what we're doing, can't be in the middle of town. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, so we'd be glad to have you in the class. If you'd like more information, just email us, adam@armedalabama.com or thejudge@armedalabama.com. All right, we already have a couple of people online here ready to talk to us, have some questions for us. The first one we have is, first caller is Bob. Bob, welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you can join us. And Bob is calling from Mobile.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Fine, how about you?
I'm not sure exactly what the real answer is. This is such a complicated issue, you know. I mean, we have a lot of people, you know, who have psychiatric issues, and I'm sure every policeman that's come into becoming a police officer starts out with the best intention to become somebody who can look out and try to become the kind of person and deal with issues within our own culture. I feel like that we have a lot of issues that are not discussed, one of which is we have so much plea bargaining within the judiciary that people it's become a big game for a lot of the people who deal with the law. And at the same time, we have a lot of people who have emotional, psychological problems who are allowed to have, they're allowed to have guns and things like that, and they can have guns. I hate it. I would never become a police officer because I know what they go through. They have a very high stress world that they have to live within, especially with the geopolitical and the racial issues that go on and everything else that they have to play, you know.
You know, Bob, I've seen some of these videos that I'm amazed. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm amazed the patience. And I've seen some where people didn't have any patience, but I'm kind of amazed that the patience some of them have. When they're dealing with people on just some, you get a ticket for speeding, The policeman's not the judge. You don't argue with him. Argue with the judge. And you've seen these like I have probably where somebody's just arguing.
I agree 100%. The thing is, though, that if we would eliminate a lot of the plea bargaining that goes on within the judiciary, when I lived in Germany, if you were caught drinking, you lost your license for 5 years. If you did it again, you lost your license for life. If you did it again, you did 5 years in prison. There was not a lot of these up and down issues of who and what and who know who and all these other issues that go on.
If you'll listen,
they float us into a lot of the political issues, and there's a lot of gray area with our culture.
Yeah, Bob, we're right up against a break. If you'll hang up and listen, after the break, I'll explain to you a little something about the plea bargaining, because that made me real mad when I was on the bench. But I'll tell you why it happens. But listen right after the break, and I'll spend a couple of minutes going into it, because it'll open your eyes some. But it's kind of the way it is, and like I say, it was a hang up with me. But I'll go into it a little bit for you.
We got a lot of. I don't want to keep you and hold your show up.
No, everybody would be interested. Just listen after the break, because we're right up against the break. I'm sorry, Bob.
We'll be back. This is Armed Alabama. If you're on the lines, they are slam-packed jam, but we'll get you right after this break. Thank you. This is Armed Alabama.
This program is a production of Armed Alabama, LLC. The comments and views of the hosts are those of Armed Alabama, LLC, for which it is solely responsible. The view and comments of the callers, guests, and texters do not necessarily represent the views of the sponsors or advertisers of Armed Alabama, LLC, or of Armed Alabama, LLC, Bigler Broadcasting, LLC, FM Talk 1065, or WAVH. No comments from Judge Rusty Johnston should be taken as legal advice, but as educational information. Judge Johnston is not engaged in the practice of law and should not be sought out to answer legal questions off the air. Seek legal advice from a qualified attorney who knows the complete specifics of your legal matter.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
The 45 long slide with laser sighting.
It's a brand new. We just got them in. That's a good gun. Just touch the trigger, the beam comes on, and you put the red dot where you want the bullet to go. You can't miss. Anything else?
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
Hey, just what you see, pal.
The Uzi 9mm.
You know your weapons, buddy. Any one of these is ideal for home defense. So, what shall it be?
All.
Let me close early today. There's a 15-day wait on the handguns, but the rifles you can take right now. You can't do that.
Wrong. Now, Arnold there would be someone you wouldn't want to plea bargain with. Let me spend 60 seconds telling you about plea bargaining. What most of the judges in this circuit did, and I did, is when we arraign someone's indicted by the grand jury, and then we set an arraignment day about 2 to 4 weeks before the trial. And the rule was you had to plea on that day, accept a plea offer that the district attorney gave you. If you didn't, and you wanted to plea on the day of trial, you had to plead blind, meaning you had to plead guilty as charged, and we had a sentencing hearing. You could be sentenced to the maximum just like a jury had convicted you. It was just like being sentenced after a jury trial, or you went to trial. And oftentimes victims like that, because they did not have to come down, they're always welcome to come down, but they didn't have to take an extra day to come down. It was well before the trial, and the atmosphere was a little less tense. The philosophy of my district attorney was that he never offered a plea that wasn't within the range that someone would be sentenced to anyway. Now, sometimes there were cases, especially ones that I would kind of get angry and say, why are you offering something like that? And I'd find out, well, Judge, the witness is in California and says he's not coming back to testify, the only eyewitness. And, well, okay, it sounded like a terrible case, and yet the offer didn't seem harsh enough. Well, I'd find out something like that. and I don't care about this, but I'll tell you the standard story is, and this is true, that we settle 96%, I think the term, by plea bargains. We try 3 to 4% of the cases. Now, I don't care if it meant working all week. We'd try them all as far as I'm concerned because I like trying cases. But a lot of the cases were, in my opinion, kind of overcharged. A possession of drugs was charged as a distribution because they had 2 rocks of crack in their pocket. Well, you're going to distribute that. You got 2. If you had 1, it was probably for yourself. So that's the method to the madness right there. But I know one thing, we tried to make it as convenient to the witnesses as possible. Now, victims usually want to be there all the time, but sometimes there are 5 or 6 witnesses, and they don't want to be down there all the time. And if you told them, hey, the trial's off, the case has been settled, then they didn't need to come down there on the trial day. But lots of times defendants would play with you, and you got to watch that because they're, it's usually not their first rodeo. So that's as quick as I can explain it.
Thank you, Judge. We have a lot of phone calls or a lot of people on the line right now. We'll go ahead and take Dean from Baldwin County. Glad you could join us, Dean. Thank you so much for waiting.
Thank you, guys. I will give you a quick 45 seconds, not take up too much time. I'll give you the bullet points of what I was thinking the whole time I was listening to the show. Immigration, don't need a wall, don't need deportation, don't need any of that. Here's my take. You make every person who hires a person in this country, you have to go through the I-9, go through the process. If you're caught hiring an illegal alien, it's a $10,000 fine, 30 days in jail. All of a sudden, the jobs disappear. The aliens regress back to where they came from. Maybe
self-deport
or whatever it is. My second thing is, you do that, great. Guess what? Oh, all you hear is we're going to have to pay $12 for a watermelon and $5 for a tomato. Guess what? Maybe we have to pay $12 for a watermelon and $5 for a tomato. Maybe all that money we save in just taking the jobs away, we take that money and put some subsidies back in for these people that are growing these things.
Or maybe more people start growing watermelons.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then secondly, so that's your immigration. I'm a common guy. I got a job. I own a shotgun. I got a concealed carry. I mean, I'm not a politician, but guys, take the job away. When you take the supply is there because there's a demand. Take the demand away, the supply will go away.
There you go.
Next, I'm telling you, take this border. You don't need a wall. You go down that entire stretch of that border, and you take a bulldozer and you make a 1-mile path. And then you set it up, and you turn the entire border on this side into a federal military base. You can stick a metal building out there if you want, but it's a military base. You take all these drones, you put up one of them drones that run on solar power, and it flies back and forth all day, 24 hours a day. So now these guys who are trying to come over and do drugs and ship things in, now you're crossing into a federal military base. And the consequences are you may be engaged and something bad may happen. We save so much money if we did that because you know what? In my job, I work for a big company. I can't hire an illegal alien.
Right.
So I don't understand. And everybody complains because it seems like we're talking about the downfall of America and the price of a watermelon. Well, guess what? When I first got a car at 16, gas was 91 cents a gallon. And somebody said, well, if we do this, gas might go up to $2 a gallon. It may. That's the cost.
Things will work out.
To do something.
That's right.
And what gets me is these liberals, they say, well, we don't want to do this because it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. That's what we're going to have to do. Thanks, guys. Great show.
Thank you so much.
Dean. Next caller is Parker from Mobile. Glad you could join us.
Hi there.
Hey, Parker.
Yes, sir.
Hi. Hello, man.
Go ahead.
You there?
Yeah, we're here. Go ahead.
I just want to make a comment about the weapons going to the courthouse.
Yeah.
I worked for the Sheriff's Department as auxiliary out in Grand Bay in '94, and my training officer was Craig Greenwald.
Oh, God.
And Craig Greenwald was killed on the metal detector there inside the courthouse.
Yeah, we talked about that one show. I don't know if you heard it, about the no round in the chamber rule. Yep.
If you look on the column to the left as you entering into the metal detector, you'll see there's a plaque there. And
I was the one that dedicated it. Yeah.
And some crayon-drawn pictures by his children where they lost their father.
Very
but,
sad.
And I want to say it was at that time when we lost Craig.
Yep.
That they made it where the police officers could carry their firearms into the courtroom.
Well, yes and no. If you're a mobile police officer, you still have to lock yours up. That's when it changed to they could carry around in the chamber the court police, which, that's why it happened. I didn't have anything to do with it. But the policy then was you couldn't have a round in the chamber, and when the lunatic opened fire, you know how long it takes, half a second or whatever, to rack your slide, he was already firing, and Craig was right there. And real sad.
All right, thank you, Parker. Go to the next callers. Joel from Mobile. Glad you can join us tonight.
How y'all doing tonight?
All right.
Hey, I got a quick question. I'm carrying a Sig Scorpion Carry 45.
Yeah.
And I am carrying that DRT 150 grain ammo in it. And I wanted to buy some more and wanted to know if you know who's got it around Mobile.
Well, I'd check with McCoy's first. And, what was the old ad? Let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages.
Yeah.
But if McCoy's didn't have it, I buy a lot of ammo online, frankly. If they don't buy it down, and I know a lot of people, hey, I don't want the government to know, whatever. They probably got satellite pictures inside my house.
Okay. Is that a pretty good round to carry for that gun?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to visualize it. I carry one of the Hornady critical defense rounds, and I'll just tell you why. The rounds like the Hydroshocks and all that are just the open hollow point, the open types, they tend to snag a little in my M9. So the critical defense has almost a plastic plug in the end of it, and they just seem to zip through a little smoother. But you got to try it out in your gun and see which round operates. So
I shot it. It's pretty devastating.
Yeah.
But I bought my original stuff down at Barton Tactical, and they don't even have it. I haven't been able to find it, and so I thought maybe you might know.
Yeah, there are a couple of places. I can't even think of the name. I'll give them to you before we go that I've ordered from that I know are safe. But check with McCoy's first, and if they don't have it,
they can order it from you.
Yeah,
they can order it for you if they don't have it.
That's true.
But
I'll give you a name here in just a second. Before the show's over, I just can't think offhand.
All right, thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for calling in. You made a good point a while ago as far as your concealed carry. We all go down to the range and we shoot the full metal jacket, 115 grain or whatever, 9mm or 45. But if you're carrying a different round, you need to make sure that round will cycle through your firearm effectively.
And you know what I found out, Adam?
So many times that you buy these self-defense rounds, especially with a heavy grain like a 9mm, you can get a 147 grain bullet. And so that's a pretty big bullet. And a lot of times, some of these smaller, mid-size or compact 9mm, they have trouble feeding that big round.
Right,
and it's the same with a 45 or anything else. So you need to make sure that you test your concealed carry rounds and make
test
sure
it 50 rounds or so.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was going to tell them if you can't find it here, go to www.sgammo.com. They're in Oklahoma. They're good Christian people. They'll get it to you fast. I wouldn't worry about them. Maybe they're a front for the government. I don't know, but I don't think they are. I've bought a lot of stuff from them. sgammo.com. They can handle it for you. But You need to run 50 rounds through, and that's how I found out when we had our ammo shortage. I was using Hydroshocks in my Beretta, and some were hanging up, if you remember. And I thought, whoa, we better, because we didn't have enough full metal jackets. The ammo was so short.
All right, we've still got a half hour left of Armed Alabama. Please call in 251-343-0106.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I'm looking for Josie Wales. That'll be me. You're wanted, Wales. I reckon I'm right popular. You a bounty hunter? Yeah, he's got to do something for a living these days.
Diane ain't much of a living boy.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. Glad you can hang with us for our 2-hour show. I'm Adam Strange, and with me is Judge Rusty Johnson. So glad you could join us.
Diane ain't much of a living, is it?
Guess not. All right, Judge, we had covered a lot of subjects tonight, but one of them I hadn't had a chance to really get to. You and I had talked about it earlier, and that was the Aurora, Colorado shooting. The chain, the movie chain, Cinemark, was sued by the survivors, and of course, that lawsuit failed, and then according to the article here, that the judge ordered the suers to pay the theater chain $700,000. You and I discussed that before we went on the air, and you remarked that it was kind of odd for that to happen.
Well, the loser usually has to pay court cost, and that can be the big part of court cost. Well, it's the filing fee and all that is usually depositions that are used in court, expert witness fees. But first of all, to get one up that high is just phenomenal. And I said the other problem was that I didn't think the lawsuit was brought under the right theory. The theory that I'm waiting for is you deprived us of the right to defend ourselves, and yet you didn't substitute it with anything else, and theirs was just the old plain failure to provide adequate security, which that's difficult because you don't have any responsibility to provide anybody with security at all.
Well, the foundation was for the extraordinary cost was the cost of preserving evidence, travel for witnesses, and other expenses.
And that's probably the experts.
That the theater,
but $700,000. I remember awarding one in a case of, I think it was $40,000, and I thought that was pretty darn high. And I usually went through those and tried to go through them with a fine-tooth comb to see if they weren't being fattened up. But $700,000.
And if you're unfamiliar with what we're discussing, we're talking about the Aurora, Colorado massacre, where gunman James Holmes killed 12 people and wounded 70 on July 20th. 2012, and the judge referred to as far as getting sued on them not providing protection. That was a gun-free zone. And
I think the problem, we had always theorized that I never saw the complaint, but that a business has no duty to protect you in the business unless they're on notice of many similar. Can't just be one, but it doesn't have to be 100, but a number of prior criminal acts that that business should be on notice that they better do something. So that didn't happen there, but my theory was that they had deprived the people of their constitutional right to carry, and they didn't put anything in its place.
I.e. security or whatever.
Right. Yeah. But they kept out the carry. They said, hey, you didn't provide a safe place for us to visit. And that's just the standard old thing, like if you lived in an apartment complex and were assaulted. And I thought that was the essential component of that. So,
it turned out not to be so.
Yeah, apparently not. But, and that could be the problem with not having a gun person as your lawyer, because I think that's kind of essential when you get into something like that.
All right, we got a caller on the line. Wayne is calling from Mobile. Glad you could join us. Wayne, welcome to Armed Alabama.
All righty. Thank you. I'm enjoying the show. I wanted to ask you a question. A couple of weeks ago, you played this song, Battle of New Orleans, too.
Yeah.
Well, I can't seem to find that thing anywhere, and I was wondering if you knew off the top of your head who the group was that did it, made the song.
Well, I'll tell you what I know. You can go to the Armed Alabama YouTube page. I think I have fixed it where you can download it, but it's got a video that goes with it.
Right.
But like I say, I'll look at it again and make sure. Chase, would you check on that? You may want to wait about a day to see that you can download it. Now, if you have one of these third-party downloaders that some people have. You can get it there. But it is on our Armed Alabama YouTube page. And I'm not, it's a little old, so you're going to have to go in there and look at the videos. But it's about 3 minutes long, so you'll see it there. But
do you know the name of the group by any chance?
No, I couldn't find, because I wanted to check and make sure it wasn't copyrighted.
Right.
And if it was, make provisions for that. But no, I could not find anything about the group, and they just released it. It was everywhere about 10 years ago, I guess. Oh. And at the next break, or in just a minute, we're going to play it for you. I don't know if you have any way to record it, but we'll play it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, would you play it again?
We sure will. We sure will. Just give us a second to get it. Or yeah, we're DJs.
Okay.
So yeah, listen up for it.
Sounds good.
Whenever we can spin it up, we'll play it. You ready? Let's go with it.
All right, it's ready. So we're going to play it.
In 2005, Katrina let her rip, taking dead aim at the coast of Mississippi, causing death and devastation like no one had ever seen, and anger and frustration in the town of New Orleans. And they blamed George Bush, and they blamed the head of FEMA. They told everybody that would listen to them shout. They blamed the mayor, and they blamed Governor Blanco, cause nobody came to get their sorry asses out. When the levees didn't hold, the water started coming up, and all at once they realized that they were out of luck. So they all took refuge in the Superdome. It didn't take them long to make themselves right at home. Well, they stole TVs and they stole fine jewelry. Everybody got a new pair of Nike tennis shoes. Stole guns, DVDs, fur coats, cold beer. They stole some stuff that they couldn't even use. With the water and the sewer now deeper than their thighs, they started shooting helicopters, bringing them supplies. Then when the army had the nerve to fire back, the Reverend Jesse Jackson said it's cause that they were black. And they in the streets, they raped young women. They committed every kind of unthinkable sin. They did some things that you can't even mention, with the only intention to get on CNN. Now the water went down and they all went home. Now they sit around and they bitch and they moan, cause everything is worse than you could ever expect. And they wonder who the hell is gonna send them their next check. Now they got no jobs, they got no money, but they got away cause they never got caught. They ain't no better than they was for the storm. And don't you know that everything's the government's fault? They stole TVs and they stole fine jewelry. Everybody got a new pair of Nike tennis shoes. Stole guns, DVDs, fur coats, cold beer. They stole some stuff that they couldn't even use. They blamed George Bush, they blamed the head of FEMA. They told everybody that would listen to them shout. They blamed the mayor and they blamed Governor Blanco, cause nobody came to get their sorry asses out.
And Adam, I'm pretty sure Chase is working on it, but there shouldn't be any problem about putting the audio only on our website, on the archives channel, where you go for the archives, armedalabama.com, and it's show archives. And it may take us to tomorrow, and we'll just put the audio there that you can download just like you would a show. So to anybody that wants it, we'll go over there, and you can go over there and just download it as MP3. So that'll solve all the YouTube nonsense because they've gotten really bureaucratic about a lot of stuff.
All right, judges. It's still pretty funny every time you listen to it.
It really is, and there were some kind of a few crude pictures in the video that I changed out. And if you listen to the Gordon Hutchison show, I had to fill up close to 2 hours with those videos. So I had some of George Bush Sr. and Jr. fishing on Canal Street and some things like that. So it's pretty humorous. But while we're thinking about, you mentioned McCoy's for ammunition. When I was down there the last time, and you may have been down there more recently, boy, did they have birdshot down there, because, we're right on dove season. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but it seems too hot for that, but we're right on it. Birdshot, any kind of ammunition. If you need a new bird gun, that's the place to go, because you can try it out. I've bought guns through Gunbroker before, but it was because I had a specialty gun like the 1917 model. That's something I've been looking for years, but it's nothing like, a shotgun, you need it to fit you. And those people down there at McCoy's know how to fit a shotgun. That is a very particular skill. And McCoy's is hometown owned and operated, and I think that's very important. We've had so many businesses leave Mobile, and they're down near us in the Spring Hill Avenue Shopping Center, and that is on Spring Hill Avenue. Used to call it Spring Hill Avenue Extension, but if you know where the Girl Scout headquarters is, they're across from that. But in the old K&B Shopping Center, and not just guns, not just ammunition, but running shoes. They've got actually a gunsmith down there who can take care of any of your needs. Clothes. I mean, the teenage kids are down there. That's all the hit clothes down there. So see McCoy's. They're a sponsor of this show. You can go to their website, McCoy Outdoor CO, or go to their website too on Facebook. Go to their Facebook page and remember to like them when you go to their Facebook. They make this show possible. So when you go in there, mention it. If you buy a AR-15 type weapon or a handgun, get 15% off one of our classes.
And they've got a great selection of firearms, good selection of ammunition, and those guys are very, very knowledgeable when it comes to not only fitting a shotgun, but getting the right pistol for the right person.
And fitting it, yeah.
Yes, and for the job that you want, if it's concealed carry or home defense. So, and also have a good selection of holsters too. It's very important to have a good, solid holster if you plan to conceal carry.
When we get back, well, I'll mention it. Somebody called or left a question about a VersaMax holster, and I'll give you the long and short of it. I told them I wouldn't get one because it advises don't carry around in the chamber. And I wouldn't look any further. Don't carry, but it also sticks a plastic tube up into your barrel, and I didn't like that. But don't carry around in the chamber. I just wouldn't go any further. Don't buy it.
Yeah, because if you're going to carry, you need to carry with a round in the chamber.
Absolutely.
And if you're not comfortable with a round in the chamber, then you need to go to range and need to practice. You need to seek training.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back after this break. This is Armed Alabama. Stick around. We still got a little bit more show left.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I own this establishment. Bought it from Greeley for $1,000.
You better clear out of there.
Yes, sir. Just hold it right there. Hold it!
You just shot an unarmed man. Well, he should have armed himself. He's going to decorate his saloon with my friend.
All right, that was Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven. Up real quick, we got a phone call here. The ad man's calling in from Theodore. Glad you could join us on Armed Alabama. What you got?
Sure, I got a question for you. My girl's got a Beretta Tomcat 32.
I got one of those too. Yeah.
She can't rack a regular automatic, but because I'm using hollow point bullets in it. I have read some things talking about a 32. So if a person has on heavy clothing and stuff like that, that you'd be better off with just a ball ammo. What is your opinion on the subject?
Well, they tell you on that Tomcat to only use, if you're going to use a hollow point, I believe it's the Winchester Silver Tip, and that don't use any other kind. So, but what I used in that, I deviated from that. I used a soft lead on that. It is, a full metal jacket type, but it's not a hollow point. It's just a soft lead, like you'd see in a 45 long Colt. And that's what I used in mine because it wouldn't get hung up in the gun. I tested it a lot too, but it would tend to kind of splatter when it hit something hard.
Yep.
And so that would be my recommendation with this. A little particular, but you're not going to go. It'd be something not to play around with. I wouldn't hesitate to use a full metal jacket, but you have to shop around a little. But it's just a soft lead. It's almost like a hunting round.
It's really, really difficult to find any ammunition in that caliber.
Oh, it is. It is.
The other question I'll make a comment is that it was always puzzling to me that when I was in the service that the snipers were using Federal Gold Cup rounds, which uses a Sierra hollow point bullet.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's why would you use that instead of a good hunting round? I said, well, it doesn't really it doesn't really expand like a hunting round would, which is against the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, they've had a bunch. That's interesting. They've had a bunch of legal opinions, and they change from presidents to presidents. I don't think any of those rounds meet the definition. It's actually the Hague Convention. I don't think any of them meet the definition of the Hague Convention on dum-dum bullets. But, yeah, I can understand that. And some of those rounds, people get real particular with them. But thank you.
Thank you, Ad Man. Appreciate your phone call. He made a good point talking about his daughter having trouble racking the slide with some of the autos, and a really good point. I'll give you a little tip. If you have an automatic or auto loading pistol that you're having difficulty to rack the slide, we always teach a push-pull method, and that's pushing with your strong hand and pulling with your support hand, or if right hand or left hand. If you're right-handed,
that's a video we can make, Adam.
Yeah, that'd be a good video to make. If your right hand is on the frame of the weapon, you're pushing out. If your left hand or support hand is on the slide, gripping the slide with thumb and index finger, you're pulling back. So you get a push-pull method, and that's a real easy way.
As opposed to a slingshot.
Yeah, it's a real easy method for somebody that doesn't have a strong grip or a limited grip, maybe due to injury or whatever. So just give you a little tip there.
And what he's talking about, that Tomcat is a tip-up.
Yeah, first round, you tip it up.
Yeah, and then it's automatic, semi-automatic after that.
All right. Glad you could join us tonight on Armed Alabama. If you're enjoying the show, please thank our advertisers and sponsors, and please patron them. And they are David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic of Toomer's Corner, Grayson Air Conditioning, and that's David Grayson, McCoy Outdoor, of course, and the law office of Matt Green, and Bama Carry. So if you would like to advertise your business on Armed Alabama, or if you just like the show and you just want to contribute, please contact us, myself and the judge, and email us, adam@armedalabama.com or the judge at armedalabama.com. We'll be glad to hear from you.
And let's let our technology person, Chase, talk a minute about our social media sites.
It's great to be on, Judge. Adam and Judge do a great job talking about the show. They have so much information, but unfortunately 2 hours really isn't a whole lot of time to talk about everything that y'all as the audience would like to hear. And I know we have a lot of calls come in, and some of them just we can't get to you in time. We really want to help push the idea that you can reach us out to us on the Facebook, any of our socials, and just talk to us, let us know, use our emails. We want to hear from y'all beyond just a 2 hour span of time. We want to hear from you whenever you have a question. It gives us ideas of what you're looking for, because we really want to give you the information you're seeking. And I think that's just a great way. We're here for you on Facebook. We're here for you on the website. Don't be afraid to reach out and talk to us. Don't be afraid to ask us questions. That's what we're here for.
I like that idea about making a video about using your dominant hand and your weak hand as opposed to slingshotting back to rack the slide. We can do that quite easily. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's lots of things that we can do that we plan on doing to put on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook on visual tips and cues for you. And when you're at the range, that you can practice and be more safe on the range.
Absolutely.
And then be a better shot and a more accurate shot, and feel more confident about using that firearm in defense of yourself and your family.
But right now, go to our main page, armedalabama.com, and see about iron sights and electronic sights. It's 5 minutes maybe, and it's a decent video and explains about them and the pop-up sights and how you put them on. It's for a novice, and I think it's pretty decent. And hopefully, we'll get one up about weak people who have maybe weak hands or weak muscles, how they rack their slides.
And remember, we have a handgun class coming up September 17th. That's the concealed carry home defense course for you pistol owners or revolvers, either or. It's a good class. Recommended you taking it if you want to conceal carry your firearm, and if you want to feel more secure and feel like you can be more safe carrying that firearm and definitely carrying them with a round in the chamber, then by all means contact us about this class. We'll be glad to have you. And you can email us, of course, or you can go to our website, and go to Armed Alabama
We've got a
/classes.
description of it, and we'll check and make sure that it can't be improved. But several hours of that is the law, where you can and can't carry, when you can and can't shoot, and that confuses a lot of people, and I can certainly understand that.
Yeah, and one thing that very few people knows, if you have a concealed carry pistol and you have to utilize that pistol outside of your home in a concealed carry situation to defend yourself or defend your family, how do you receive law enforcement?
Right.
What do you say? What don't you say?
Right.
And that could get you in trouble if you say the wrong things because you're excited or you have drilling through your system.
Yep.
It's just a bad situation, but you need to know what to say and what not to say.
And not being a criminal. Criminals generally know what to say. We're not criminals, and you're going to tend to say everything. And we kind of talk to you about, as you say, what to say and what not to say.
So if you're interested in that class, by all means, email us, Adam at Armed Alabama, or the judge at Armed Alabama. So we had a big show tonight. We're so glad you tuned in. We had lots of calls, and a lot of them had to wait for a while to get on the air, but we really appreciate it.
And remember, go to our Facebook pages, and also, if you're interested, go to the Harold Hurst, Hurst, presumed innocent, all the up-to-date news on the police shooting in Mobile back in June. And we try to keep you up to date on what's going on there.
Also, quick reminder, this Saturday at the Pine Brook Shopping Center, the Mobile County Republican Party will have their grand opening right next to Books A Million. So look for the Republican sign and Trump sign there. And that's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. So be sure, go down there and get your Trump signs, your Trump T-shirts, ball caps, stickers, you name it, they're going to have it there.
Exactly. And next week, we'll have some more exciting information for you. And remember, if you're going to carry around in the chamber, and if you're afraid to do that, get in one of our classes or get in somebody's classes to be comfortable. We'll see you next week on Armed Alabama, same bat time, same bat channel.